Hello, this is Paul Cheney with Spartan Design University. We're going to continue by taking a look at textures. Now we're going to be using a texture called soft wallpaper from a site called Subtle Patterns. Now when you use textures, you have to be really careful about them because you can really go overboard in a hurry. I like these because they're very, very soft. Most of them are not obnoxious. The one I picked for our site is called soft wallpaper. And it's right here. You can see it's really fairly light. And I'm going to start by downloading that to my desktop. And we're going to process it a little bit. Now that that's downloaded, I will decompress it. I get a folder. And inside that folder, I get a large version and I get a small version. Well, we're going to use the small version and make it even smaller. Start by opening it in Photoshop. Do that one more time. There it is. And I'm going to take a look at it. It is currently 230 850 bytes, or 233 kilobytes. So let's write that down. 233 KB. Not bad, but I think we can do better without sacrificing much quality. So back to Photoshop. We're going to start by, remember this is a repeating texture, so the left and the right sides match, the top and the bottom match. So if I reduce the size to half of what it was, whoops, image size, if I go half, there we go, that should still repeat just fine. Now I'm going to file, save for web. Here's my texture, and I've got all these different quality settings. If I go all the way down, look how ugly that is. It's just a blocky, yucky mess. So I'm going to cheat it up here until I can it just becomes acceptable to me. So I think I can live with right around 50% on the quality. We'll look at the size now. It was 233. It's now down to 56. So if you do the math on that, we've reduced it about 6 times. Let's go ahead and save that. It asks for a name. I'll just go ahead and leave it as soft wallpaper. Put it inside of our HTML5 start folder. You can make a new folder in here called images and drop it in there. And we're done. Now we're back to our Dreamweaver code. Let's start by giving our header a color so that we can see the difference between that and the navigation. So we're in our phone. Let's come up to our header. Background color. Pull up Photoshop. I'm going to be using this color right here, which is not quite black, but almost black. That'll be that color right there. Save it. There it is. And now we can come down to the content area. Content has a statement that says don't go any smaller than 5 EMs tall. That's fine. Let's go ahead and put a background image in there. And once again, nice thing about Dreamweaver, you can just browse for the file you want. So we go back to the desktop, to the start file, to the images folder. There it is. Open it. It gives us our path. We save it. If we don't give it a repeat X or Y, it automatically repeats both directions. So here's our page. Hit refresh. We've got our header color in, and you can see the texture very subtle behind here. Okay, Now, I don't know if you can see this in the video very well, but every time I force refresh this page, down here at the bottom it flashes this color. And the more images and things I add to my page, the more it's going to flash. The reason is that because it takes a fraction of a second to load this texture, and it's covering this darker brown or gold color up here. So we're going to go into our CSS and we're going to put a faster background. So before we load the background image, which takes a second, we're going to load a background color, which is very much the same. In this case, it's just going to be a really light gray. So this gray color will load instantly, and in a fraction of a second later, this JPEG file will load, and you won't even be able to see it because all it will be is a quick texture change. See that? It doesn't even flash anymore. It flashes from gray to gray, which is pretty much invisible. Now there's one more texture that we're going to use, but we'll get to that later when we start programming our desktop. Remember, we start with mobile first. So here's our site on the phone. This looks okay. This looks pretty good. This down here is begging to have some margin or padding put around it. So into the content area, I'm going to put padding of 0.5 and 2%. Now, remember the first value is the top and the bottom. We don't want that to be a percentage because then our page would slide up and down as we made the browser wider or narrower. But we do want to maintain an even left and right percentage so that we can stick to our 12-column grid. So I'm going to set this at 8 pixels, which is 1/2 of an EM. And I'm going to set the left and right sides to 2%. That should push it away so that we have a nice 2% here, 2% for our buttons, and 2% for our content. And that's going to continue 2% all the way there and 2% all the way there. So it looks nice.